Hi everybody, it's crazy, it's Wednesday, and it's time for my learned experience video. We are up to episode number 27, and before I get started, gotta give a shout out to my trusted, because you guys rock, to my crazy fam, love you guys, and to my patrons, thank you for your support. Now, last week I talked about going into chapter 10, and, well, I did more than that this week. I went from beginning of chapter 10 all the way to the end of chapter 10. I actually got into some of the practice questions just to play around with them. So before I get going, let's switch over here and say, hey, this is the book I'm working from. It's called Automate the Boring Stuff with Python. And I ended off with page 215, which was chapter 10, debugging. Now, debugging is one of the conundrums that a lot of people in game dev and in a lot of other programming facets have a hard time getting through, because debugging is saying that you've got a problem and you got to find out how to fix it, and debugging is the tedious process and nobody likes doing it. But I know a little bit about it because I happen to be a very good, very bad typist, and I can really mess up a code if I'm not paying attention. I'm just hammering away. So this episode is basically going to be all about debugging. So let's go ahead and roll through it. Switch over here. This is where I started off. So I just created a file called debugging.py, and I just started off where I was at. My next one, let me go ahead and bring it up here. I believe it was coin toss. No, box print. I started doing this one. It's called box printing. Very interesting. I didn't know that you could actually debug using little program snippets or modules in Python. See, this is where my inexperience comes in, and I'm sitting here going, "Wow, okay, this looks pretty neat." So I started following it, and I got through it. Ask me now, and I'll probably tell you I have no clue. But if I ran the program, it will actually take these numbers right here and create little boxes and stuff of those. So I'll show you. And I'll tell you where it errors out and where it doesn't error out. Let me squeeze that down, scroll that up. Okay, so the first one, the stars. Let's go over here to where our little deal is. This one right here. Okay, it does the stars. It does the circles. And then I get an exception error. So this right here just tells you, hey, you've got an exception, in this code right here. Okay, and I put an exemption happen. This is all part of the debug process. And here goes my exemptions. If the symbol does not equal 1, then it's going to throw this exemption right here. If it is less than or equal to 2, or if its width is less than or equal to 2, then it says it's got to be more than 2. And if it's less than 2 high, then it's going to say, hey, it needs to be more than 2 high. Makes pretty much sense, right? So the whole idea of this is just simple debugging, and this will basically go through each one and show you 1, 2, 3, and 4 box printing. Okay, so then I ended off that one, and I went to page number 217. So, which is, I'm gonna put it over here, 217, and then I hit. There we go, right one. Okay, so I ended on this, and this is what it's supposed to look like. Whole great stack, and went ahead and did it, and it was like, okay, learned a little bit. And then I got into getting traceback as a string, and that one I think I saw before, and I wasn't sure, so I literally was like, okay, well, I don't know if I can do that one or not, but we can try it. So I brought up this one and went ahead and trace back, did all the trace back as a string. So what I do is I print it up so you can see what it goes through, and then I went through all this. I printed each one of these, but a lot of these will error out if, for the fact that, because I'm running other stuff with it. But then I got down to disabling assertions, how to disable them. And disabling them I thought was pretty cool, but I had to fight and fight and fight with this. It wasn't this one. I think it was the other one. Yeah, the next one. It's the Fractal log, which is there. It is. Okay, which is the Fractal log, and I really had trouble getting through this because I was trying to see what all these can do. But technically, all I had to do was put in these, and it will show it will show all of them. Now, if I disabled these in the other one, then it will disable all debugging. Okay, so when you're working with these, a lot of these are, you're going to set the boundaries. You're telling it, okay, you're going to start logging, you're going to use this configuration, you're going to use this level of logging, you're going to use this format, and then you're going to have this message. So you go through it. And then I was trying to do, something else that used this and disabling it as I go. And I finally figured it out. It was rough going, but I did figure it out. And this is it. I found out that when you do this, you're actually telling it, okay, you're going to put this into a text file. You're going to print out anything that logs itself as an error. Now, I've created these. These are creating. I want it to log any criticals, log any errors, log any warnings, log any info, log any debug. Well, up here is where all those are, and I turned them off, and my file was just coming up blank. So it was like, okay, what am I doing wrong? So I literally had to debug the debug. That's pretty bad, ain't it? So figured it out though, and decided, okay, now I've got that. What's next? Well, the next one is 227, and that brings me to, oops, yeah. Oh, okay. Let me do this right. I tap passage 27. There we go. I got into doing the debugger in IDLE. Now, I remember how to do these, and it was just common sense for me, but for those that have never used the debugger in Python, okay, let me switch back over to this one. The debugger is only after you run the module. Once you run the module, then you can come up here to debug and click that right there, and it automatically brings in the debugger. So if I did that, okay, now once you started this, if you close this, the debugger closes. It does not stay on. Okay, you actually got to keep this window up. So when you come back over here and run this program again, it's going to run through and say, oh, hey, the debugger's still on, so let's walk through this. I'm not going to do that because that's just long and tedious. But I know the basics of it. I know that you have to, if you want to go completely through the program, you hit go. If you want to step through it, you step. If you want to go over like a print function or a run function or something like that, then you would do that. You would use the over. And then, of course, out will, if you get stuck in one, like you accidentally go into a print or a return or something like that, a function that, you didn't want to go all the way into a native function, then you can use the out to get out of it and then continue on as normal. Or you can say, bump this, I'm done, quit. Okay? So I ran through a few of these and, it showed a lot of it. And I was like, okay, this is kind of like, I've already know this. I've done this a few times. It was like, okay, yeah, I could do this. I'll just roll through. I'll just roll through this. Well, got up to two. Let's see, what was my next one? That was Factorial. Yeah, and I got into the IDE debugger, which, and if I bring this back up, as you see, I like to print out the stuff so that way when I hit F5, nope, I got it invalid. Oh, that's why. See, debugs happen, or bugs happen all the time, even when you didn't even have to save it. I saved it by mistake. Okay, so this right here shows you everything. Basically everything I've typed here, if it says print, it puts it here. And basically it's just something I like to do to kind of help me get a little bit more typing knowledge, get my fingers used to typing, and also so it helps me put it in perspective. So I went ahead and did it, and then, as you see, I got through that one, and they have a few more. Let me switch back over to here. Goes into all the debugger, what you can use them for, breakpoint, okay, whatever, breakpoint, stuff like that. And then, oh my God, look, I'm in summaries. Wow, I went all the way through this chapter, and it was like, seriously, that fast? Of course, I've got, oops, not that one. Oh, nope. Close. Okay. Let's go back over here. There we go. Okay. So, this is one of the programs that you can do. Well, why did I think it's in here? Breakpoint. Did I go too far? I must have went too far. No. Okay. This is the next one I got to, which was 227 on. I ended on page 230. And, it's called Debugging the Number Adding Program. So I had to, they walk you through it and say, okay, this is the problem. Now you got to fix it. And they help you through fixing it, but for the most part, you've got to fix it on your own. And they want you to walk through the debugger and check it out through the debugger and all that. So I went through it and it was like, okay, well that's kind of cool. And if you hit F5, oh, let's try again. Okay, so there you go. And then you put your first input in, and you can even put P and L just to be a smart butt, and then 1. And what it does is it says it adds them together like that. Okay, and it's not supposed to. It's supposed to add them as numbers, and so it can't add it as numbers because it does them as strings instead of integers. So, with that being said, I went ahead and powered through that, and I got to page 230, and then that's where I ended up, at the beginning of page 30, and I actually sit at the top of page 30. So I got to breakpoints, and it was also part of the coin flip. There it is. Bring it up here so that way I can show you. They walk you through, how to do it, heads, tails, all that neat stuff. And then I finally get down to the break, and all it is saying breakpoints of how you can go through it. So when you click go, it just pushes you all the way through, so you don't really have to fight through it. Okay, you can add a breakpoint at this, like they had you put a breakpoint here, and you can do that very easily by right-clicking and set breakpoint. A lot of simple stuff, but if you're just learning this, it's really, really hard to try to figure out because you're like, what are you talking about breakpoints? Where do you find breakpoints? And everybody will wind up looking up here for breakpoints. So they don't realize that you just right-click on it and say, okay, I want to make this a breakpoint. And, oh, no, I didn't want to do that one. I want to do a different one. Adding and remove them is very easy. Right-click on where you want it to break at. Set breakpoint. Clear breakpoint. They're all right there. So I got down to the summary, and I said, well, you know what? I'm on a roll. I'm doing such a good job, and I literally was like, yay, I made it all the way through. And chapter 10 was a very long chapter. Very long chapter, and I didn't think I was going to get it all done in a week. I really didn't. I thought I was going to be like, okay, halfway through maybe, because I wouldn't have enough time because I only get like a couple hours a night. And, being that I do make videos on Wednesdays and Fridays, so technically it's like Saturday when I get off work, Sunday when I get off work, Monday when I get off work, and if I can. And Tuesdays are kind of like, okay, no, I'm done with this week because I've got so much stuff I've been doing this whole week. So, for the most part, I get that 2 hours a day, and that's about all I can get. So if I can get a lot done in 2 hours, and when I get a whole chapter done, in a week's time, I think that's an accomplishment. I don't know if it is. You let me know. Okay, so I got down and I ran through the practice questions. I just did them in my head. I was just trying to see if I can do them. I got through a few of them, but then I got to the practice project, and I was like, should I do this practice project? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to give this a good old country try, as they say. And so I put up the information. Now this is what it is. This is the original, okay? And if you ran this, it would just. I fought it. I literally fought it, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try to do some stuff that I know I could do. So I put in a couple of, to play again, so that way it wouldn't just continue in a loop forever, because that annoys the heck out of me. I don't say hell, but shh. But I like doing that, but there's also brings in another feature there. There's a couple of things I could add to this that I didn't. And by the time all this said and done, when I ran the program, it wasn't that great. Because I'll just show you. Okay. Alright, I'm going to pick 0. Nope, guess again. 1. Hey, play again. Okay, if you hit yes, it'll go just fine. Hang on, let me squish this down just a hair, because for some odd reason my screen's wider than what it should be. Don't know why. It's been doing that for years. Okay. And it tells you the correct guess. Now, if you notice, the correct guess, okay, right here, correct guess was 1. Didn't I do 1? So, yeah. So I didn't fix it. But I did made it to where you can go, if you want to play again, oops. If you want to play again, hit 0, hit enter. Nope, hit 0, hit enter. Okay, and if I hit no, it'll automatically close it out, so I don't have to keep, I hate clicking up here and getting that, your program's still running message. That annoys the crap out of me. So I'd rather have it close out, shut it down. And so I got that part working, and then I kind of just like, you know what, it's late, I'm going to bed. And that was as far as I got. And that was 3:32, and that was it. And I was going to go on to the next one, which is chapter, there it is, chapter 11. And that one's web scraping. I've never done this one, so this one's going to be interesting. So next week, check it out. Hopefully I get far enough into it. Leave me a comment in the comments and let me know what you thought. Or jump on over to the server and say, hey, crazy, what the heck's wrong with you? Debugging's easy, man. No, I don't think anybody says debugging is easy. It's annoying to try to find out where you messed up or how you messed up or anything like that. Okay, so till next week.